coming from a third world country, I thought I had seen the worst where I come from. And it's very sad what I have seen here. It's unbelievable to me that in the United States of America, I see some of the cases that I've seen.
Hi, again, it's Dr. Osafi with New Life Dental Implant Center. I'm here with a very special doctor that's been with us for a little while, Dr. Karen Bacerra. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Please introduce yourself a little bit, let our viewers know a little bit about you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Javid. I'm having fun being here. Well, I am a general dentist. I've been working for about 29 years now. I used to be in the last years of my previous job treating just older adults. And I did work a lot on nonprofit and access to care, and we helped a lot of patients that way. I did a lot of dentures. I did a lot of interesting type of work, and it helped me understand what I wanted to do in the next stage of my professional career, so that's why I'm here.
You're so humble, honestly, because Dr. Karen comes to us after operating a non-profit dental center for a lot of big population of need, and she's done that for many, many years and helped raise millions of dollars to help patients. And with that background, we were really eager to know that she's willing to work with us and become a part of our team. How big of a change has it been working with us?
It's been interesting. It's been fun. It's been kind of like a normal transition. It's kind of like the next step. I used to do, like I said, a lot of extractions, a lot of dentures. We were innovators. We were trailblazers because we brought some digital solutions, but we were not able to put the implant solution yet. That's why when this opportunity came to me, I thought it's a no-brainer. That was the next thing I was going to do regardless. And I'm with a team, and everybody's experienced, and everybody's caring. So it was very, very interesting transition for me.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I think since the time that we met at the restaurant in LA when we had connected, since then you had been just as excited, and you expressed that excitement to me that you've been waiting for the opportunity to kind of bring all the processes together to be able to give something that is of the utmost value to patients. And I can see that from day one. And I was really excited because I remember I left the restaurant and I said, yes, she is 100% the one. And it was a no-brainer. But we're really happy that you chose to be a part of the process with us. And we've been talking a lot today about the need for such a process and why we have to have a solution for patients that are in that transitionary period where they sort of don't have any options. They are left choosing between having their teeth extracted or keeping some of them, wearing a partial, or taking everything out and doing dentures. And they come to research a little bit about dental implants, and they sort of stumble upon a few different providers that have different options. Right now, when you look at the environment of dental implants, what options really are out there for this process to be completed? Do you kind of have that concept down of like what options there are out there?
Well, there's a lot of fragmentation. There's a lot of issues with affordability. There's a lot of issues with access. Not everybody has that amount of money. Not everybody has the opportunity to be able to look for something that can be provided at the one place. And here you are. You're providing that type of solution. You're making it accessible. You're making it affordable. You have implemented solutions that are digital, that are helping our patients get the solutions they want. What I see a little bit of a disconnect. I see patients that are coming from us from other countries that don't have necessarily the best experiences, that are exposed to lack of information, lack of understanding. What I also see is frustration because patients that cannot afford a solution that it's at a cost that it's not within their reach.
Unfortunately, especially from, I mean, we see this happening from places like Mexico, and not to say that you can't get quality treatment in those countries, but unfortunately, the same standards don't have to be held, right? Because patients are flying out. The same governing rules that apply to protecting patients in America don't apply in some of those other countries. And it's not to say that the providers there are not good. They're definitely great. But, of course, we want to focus on holding people responsible to deliver a certain standard. And whatever achieves that is really the goal, right?
Correct.
When it comes to affordability, do you really feel that we're making this treatment affordable?
Yes, I feel that we are. I used to have patients that came to us from all counties in Southern California because we were the only nonprofit kind of end of help for them. And we could not find a place where we could refer them when they needed something else. So I know that this is affordable because you're offering alternatives for them. You are minimizing the costs for them by implementing digital solutions. You are, or we are, making ourselves accountable for high quality levels. So because they're not getting that high prices doesn't mean they're not getting the high quality care that they deserve. So I think, yes, I think that this solution that you have.
We have done it. We have done it together. Honestly, it's been a team effort to make this possible, and it's taken 85 people really to do it en masse. But I know that you have dealt with so many patients in need, and I know you've treated so many patients. You've come across patients, I'm sure, where you felt limited because of resources and just having people to work with to be able to offer them the ultimate solution, either because they were wearing dentures and they had a gag reflex where they couldn't even wear the denture. The denture was so loose that they needed more glue than the denture itself to hold it in place.
Absolutely.
Can you give us some examples of those cases?
I had so many. We had patients with absolutely no reach. My grandpa was a lab technician. When I first started the nonprofit, I thought I was good at dentures because when I went to dental school, I tried really hard to make him proud. When I started delivering the first cases, I noticed there are some dentures that are not that easy. There are some dentures that are better for a specialist.
They're not easy at all. They're the hardest thing in the world.
And we had to hire a specialist. We had to hire a prosthodontist to help us. And even the specialist was struggling with some of the cases. And we knew that those were cases for implants. We were just pushing it. And we couldn't do anything else. We were limited. So we were very fortunate during that time. One of the foundations that I worked with created a grant. So some dentists collaborated, donated the materials. But the truth was that it was very difficult to find the right place for the right patient with the right location. So even if one dentist was willing to do an overdenture case, the list was so long, the limitations were so many, that it was a lot of frustration. So I started to think that we needed to implement or bring the implant digital solution, but it was really pushing it to the next level. So I think that my career transition, and here I am.
Thank you so much. I know I'm going to get a little bit of heat for this, without a doubt. We're both dentists, but is it fair to say that dentures suck?
Oh, they do.
As a treatment, I feel like there is only so much you can do, and it's more of setting patient expectations to expect something that just doesn't work that well.
Trust me, they can be challenged to make, and they can be ultra challenged to wear, because the palate, it's covered. You no longer taste your food. You have to learn how to speak no matter how good the dentures are. And the bone's gonna continue reabsorbing. So you're gonna have to reline that denture so many times. So I really feel like patients do lose a lot of quality of life. I mean, if there's nothing else, of course I prefer a denture because I want the patients to be able to eat, to speak, to smile with confidence. So if I have nothing else, I prefer that. But if I can push a little more, I think this is the right type of solution so that everybody can hit.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree. It's interesting. I bet there is a statistic out there for the number of patients that wear dentures, or have dentures, but actually don't end up wearing it.
Oh, thank you for saying that. We did do so many of those, and it was sad because if you cannot provide something that the patient's gonna wear no matter what, it's going to be frustrating for everybody. They would come to their annual appointment and would say, I'm not wearing them, they're in my drawer, I don't even know where they are. And it was sad. And it's not that we didn't do a good job. It's not that the patient didn't want. It's just that it's so challenging getting used to it. Eating, functioning, it takes time to get adjusted to it. So it was...
Yeah, and I, absolutely. And I've seen so many situations where patients do their best to manage. They get all the tools together to make it perfect because they have that positive attitude. But no matter what, it still ends up declining the quality of their life, and it affects them emotionally. I had a patient that actually I became very close to, Richard, in Seattle. It's one of my first patients that I treated with full mouth dental implants, but his story was very unique. He was a successful finance director of a company, and he slowly lost his teeth at the age of 36, started losing teeth one at a time. Professional trumpet player, he played at a local place, and he had invited me to come after he had finished his treatment. Fortunately, I never got a chance to go, but this patient had gone through 3 different pairs of dentures, and he started with being unable to wear the denture, so he started cutting the palate portion to be able to taste foods. Then he would only put glue in certain areas to make it stay. Finally, he had given up on playing the trumpet because he couldn't hold the trumpet in a proper position, so he gave up on that.
That is so sad.
Very sad, unfortunately. And then he ended up losing his job. When he committed to dentures, he ended up losing his job, and he actually became homeless.
Oh, God.
And he was homeless in Seattle. When he came to us, a lady that had become friends with him actually decided to help him get his teeth back. And this lady had seen him perform in one of the places that he was performing.
Dr. Javid,
She saw him.
I adopted a patient of mine as my grandpa. He died when he was 107. He was so lucid. He was so fully functional. And he and I think that part of the secret was because he had his teeth and he could eat, he could speak, he could smile. Every time we saw each other, we talked about that. So I think that part of the secret to a good quality of life is being able to smile, is being able to feel good about yourself when you look yourself in the mirror every morning. Yeah. How sad that he had to stop doing what he wanted because he no longer could enjoy it.
100%. And I compare this with other procedures that are life-changing. I think about all the other cosmetic procedures. Some are essential, like things that people actually need. But when you look at cosmetic procedures like breast augmentation and all these other procedures that patients do, which one is really, comparing to dental implants and giving people a brand new set of teeth, which one is really more transformative?
I think ours. I'm biased. I am convinced that we hold everything together because the mouth is so close to your brain, your eyes, is how you communicate with others. I tell my patients, if I met you for the first time and I told you, Dr. Javid, you have a piece of cilantro in your tooth, you would become so conscious about it. You would be every single
I would be really
minute,
upset at
right?
you too for pointing it out, of course. Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say with that is imagine how patients feel when their teeth don't look good, when they have to accommodate their lips to cover what they feel.
Constantly. It's a constant battle. And I know patients have experienced all of it. They smile when I remind them. And it's the numerous patient stories that we've heard of patients in restaurants where they sort of had to go to the restroom in an emergency because the denture got loose, something got stuck underneath. It's usually something small, and that is really the focus of trying to fix these day-to-day problems that exist in people's lives where they have given up, and it affects the quality of their life in an emotional way, where it affects the way they see themselves. Because teeth are so easily visible, you look in the mirror, you immediately see yourself as this person who you actually enjoy looking at.
Not only that, let me tell you, if you don't feel comfortable and you don't feel like you can show your teeth, even if I just met you, if you don't smile, it's gonna make me think that there's something wrong with you, that you
100%.
cannot be trusted because you don't smile.
Yep.
So
Patients lose jobs like that, and they forego living their best life, meeting people, networking, and slowly, I do believe there is a very direct link and association between losing your teeth and a depressive state starting.
absolutely.
And I know it's a tough topic to talk about, but when you talk about things that have genuinely that big of an effect on people's lives, where it affects the way you see yourself, and then you start neglecting yourself and keeping yourself from being exposed to the outside world, that is the beginning.
It's the isolation.
Isolating yourself into a depressive state. And we see that so commonly where patients are suffering internally because they don't want to even expose themselves to the world. And I commend so many patients for taking that opportunity to come to the office. When patients make the decision, I really commend them because they have given up on everything, and then somehow they see an ad or something, and then they decide, I'm going to do it. And that's why those patient stories are so important, because it motivates all of these patients out there that really feel like there's no option to know that there is.
And not only that, how about the ones that are dreaming about showing a piece of steak, corn on the cob? We're not even talking about aesthetics. We're talking about basic functions. It's eating the foods that you like, enjoying it. You know,
It's become a dream for them. It's unfortunate, but it is. I mean, that's what they say. I can't wait to go and bite into a steak, you know? That's the key. I want to really emphasize that this process is a team approach, and it takes a very big team to be able to do this, obviously, on a mass scale. We're going to see some patients that we've treated, and unfortunately, I haven't seen them, but they really have only good things to say about the care that they've provided, and I know it's because of the teams that make this possible, right? The prosthetic team, the surgical team. What do you think when evaluating this as a provider, and I really mean to get your opinion on it, is the secret of being able to actually coordinate all of these processes into one location?
I think it's a number of things. I think the first one is the ability to take advantage of technology. That's what's making it much more convenient for all of us. But it's having a team that cares. It's a team that communicates, a team that has a clear vision of where we want to go, what is the final goal. And the final goal is to give the patients what they need. We all get the joy when we see those next day deliveries, when we see those final deliveries and we see them smiling.
Best feeling. Best feeling.
I think, for me, it's like no matter how difficult my day is, I see those pictures and I'm like, this is the reason why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, honestly, it is a little selfish because I chose this because of that feeling.
Me too.
The gratification you get from doing this compared to doing a filling.
Oh, absolutely.
I know dentists are going to hate me for this, but sorry. If you're doing fillings only, there's a big difference. There's
am
no
like
doubt.
you. I get like a joy out of transforming someone's life. Just yesterday, I had a lady that is going to go on vacations. She said, if I could only have my teeth, I could give my husband a kiss. And I was like, oh my God, how?
Yeah, it's become too common to hear stories like that. Let me ask you this. to be able to offer this to more people. I mean, we're treating a large number of population right now, being one of the largest dental implant providers in California. What do you think is going to allow patients to really hone in on this option that's available and really, learn more to move forward with having this transformation done and allowing them to really know that there is an option out there? What do you think is the limitation right now?
Of course, it's finances, it's the cost, it's the lack of information for some of them. They don't necessarily know if they are a good candidate, if they're not. Accessibility, it's one of the other issues. But mainly, it's affordability and access.
That's a huge part of it. The process also being simplified and made efficient is what allows it to be more affordable, right?
Yeah.
Because using the digital technology, we're essentially cutting out about 6 to 7 visits. And let's talk about that for a second. But basically, patients come in, they have a consultation done, right? And then right after the consultation, we determine exactly what treatment they're going to be getting. Then we have a pre-surgery visit where they go over the consent forms and they fill out paperwork. And we go in detail as best as we can with regards to the expectations of what to expect from the treatment. And then we schedule the surgery. Patient completes the surgery. After that, it's one visit, and they get their teeth right away. And then at that point, we really are trying out to see if they can chew properly, they can speak properly, and then we give them the final. This test run is really what makes us unique because we don't want to just rush to the final, and we want to make sure that we actually evaluate teeth because some of these patients have lost their bite. They can't speak properly because they're missing front teeth, and we want that trial out. And this digital process does shorten it, which I believe is the reason why it makes it more affordable.
Yeah, we don't have to have them come so many times. We have the ability to make changes right away versus having to send it back to the lab, coming back in 2 weeks, another trip. As the patient's coming, I start firing emails. I talk to the lab. I talk to the medical clearance. I talk to the surgeon. So it makes it really fun. It lets me take advantage of the technology that we have, so that the patient in the end is getting a full set of services that would have cost them so much money, so many appointments. So we're simplifying it for them, and that's what makes it so much fun.
It does make it fun, but it did make it fun also seeing dentists, as dentists, struggle with that gooey impression material.
Trust
For
me.
sure. Are we going to talk about that? How patients would throw up with that gooey impression material. If we didn't have access to digital dentistry, I mean, we take out a little wand and we take a picture of your teeth and it analyzes the bite by itself. And just less than 5 years ago, and that technology wasn't available, we had to use a spatula and mix 2 compounds together, hoping that it's going to be the right consistency, not to go in the back of a patient's throat, and usually kind of...
That's the reason I couldn't do the dentures before, because the technology wasn't there. The digital dentures were not that predictable, so I had to go back to like traditional methods, and it was a lot of expense for us as providers, but it was also a lot of time and frustration because sometimes it needs to be done several times, and it takes 2 to 4 weeks in between visits. So something that could have been 2 months becomes 4 months because...
Why is it, though, that dentists are still, and that's the majority, are still sticking with the old techniques? When the technology is so readily available, digital scanners technically cost less than half of what they cost 10 years ago.
It's difficult to make that change because once you know something, it's difficult to embrace new technologies. It's difficult to embrace the change. The team, you and I love technology. I love taking advantage of it. But I would dare to say that not everybody's like that. Some people are more old school, and they feel like, I don't know that.
Old ways.
Yeah, I don't want to let go of the old ways.
Yeah.
But the demographics are changing in our profession and in our patient population as well. So I see patients with cell phones and everything. So people understand that, there's so many new things. Artificial intelligence is here to help us.
Absolutely. I know the affordability, unfortunately, does become an issue when you aren't willing to transition to the new methods and to the more efficient workflow. But we absolutely love working with dentists that make that decision for their patients to transition them to a more permanent solution when they know that there really isn't another option. And we do see patients as well, and I'm sure you've come across this, that believe that this is the right treatment for them.
Yes.
And we know it's too early, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh, I had patients that think they're ready, and I'm like, you just need an ortho consult. You're
exactly.
good.
They need some orthodontic treatment, some Invisalign, and that'll be it.
It's important to have the right balance and do the right thing, because in the end, it's about how you are able to sleep at night, doing that you did the best dentistry and you did the best by that patient. So that's important, and I tell my patients here at New Life that the reason I joined and I decided was not only because I have trust in the confident team that we have, but it's also because you don't push me to do things that I don't think are right. If I feel like this is the right thing for the patient, you back me up on that. It's the same thing I would do on my father, my brother, my relatives, so I can treat the patients the way I think it's right for them. And I am so appreciative of that because it doesn't happen everywhere.
Well, thank you so much. We're grateful that you decided to join us and to give all of the years of experience that you have into this and to try to change as many patients' lives as possible. So we're definitely grateful. The fact that you have as much experience as you have and still willing to put your efforts entirely into this, to dive so deep into the digital dentistry realm is also very much appreciated, because I know you do it with a passion, and our patients are definitely boasting that. So thank you.
We have fun in the process, right?
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
We change lives, and patients love it, and the transformations. There's no I in team, I always say. So it's not just one or the other, it's the whole team. It goes from the moment that we do sedation to consults to how we greet the patient. So it's everything that makes us so unique.
100%. 100%.
It's your efforts and what you all are doing, and I'm just glad to be part of it.
You are a part of the entire process, so we're very, very excited. The laboratory component is something also that I kind of talk about a little bit. It's a bit of a process when it comes to communicating with labs, right? In a dental setting, getting in touch with someone in a lab is not really a common thing, right?
Yep.
You kind of have to write what you want on a paper and then send it off to the outside world and see what you get back, right? I mean,
and from the other perspective as well. Sometimes, remember, my grandpa was a lab technician, so you get this prescription from this dentist, and maybe you try to call them, and they're busy with a patient, so they can't take the phone call. So it's kind of both ways, and there's delays, and in the end, what digital dentistry is doing is simplifying all that process, because through a quick message, ability to see what is being done, change this, move up, move down, do this, it's so much more convenient. And my patient's gonna be here tomorrow, I need this finished today.
That's the key.
Yep.
That's the key. And I love that process, to be honest, to actually be able to communicate directly with the lab. Our lab specifically sends us, so this is what happens when we do the surgery, just so our patients know, the lab goes into effect immediately before surgery, because they receive the scans of the patient. They sort of put together a preliminary design based on what we intend to do, and they formulate the design based on a cosmetic mock-up that we show patients as a smile design, and then they sort of set the teeth, and then the day of surgery, once we're done, our staff does a scan, they take photos, and they send it to the lab. The lab is a group of designers and technicians that are working behind the computer, one-of-a-kind individuals, and I might say, they're one of maybe 100 to 120 people in the country that really do full mouth design entirely digital. And so they designed the restoration, then they send it to the office via digital file, where the doctor opens it up on a computer, evaluates it, and then calls or sends a message back saying, these are the changes I want to make. And then we make those changes, and then immediately, this is all happening live within a matter of 10 minutes. And then the machine starts creating the teeth in the office, and then we deliver it the day after surgery. This process makes it fun because as I'm sitting next to the patient, I can type up the changes I want, send them to the lab, and I know I walk away, the lab knows exactly what I need done. The patient also gets to see the design on the computer. It makes the process much more fun and intuitive, obviously, but the overall goal is that it enhances the patient experience and makes it much more fun for us because they're happy.
They get a new life.
They do. They really do. When it comes to the challenges that we face when treating patients, I really want to talk about some of the challenges. One that I see is because this process is not yet completely streamlined. What we are doing is very novel. It's new. It hasn't been really repeated. It's all new. Digital dentistry, educating patients on the workflow and the process, right? To make sure that they know everything. Sometimes patients say, hey, I want to read a book on this before I go forward because there is so much information. And part of it is this. Part of it is that dental implants are new, full mouth dental implants are new, and another part of it is how we do it is different than how it was conventionally done. So there's so much information to be given to the patient. We spend 2 hours at the scan and records appointment to talk to them about it, but of course it's not enough. So with all the technology that we have available and our amazing video team, media team, we put together instructional videos on exactly how patients would expect going through the process, where there are differences that could take place. And I know that still patients go through this unknown phase. It's really a journey. You agree?
It's a journey, I agree. And what we do is, and this is what I tell our patients, I tell them we're gonna walk you through this journey all the way through. And we are gonna guide you, and we're gonna advise you, and we're gonna share with you what we have seen, because we do this every single day. It's not like we do a full mouth case every 2 months. This is what we do day in, day out. And it helps them because that human touch, that level of understanding that what this person is going to go through, it's a big deal.
100%.
And we're going to take it seriously because we want to make sure that what they are getting into, it's fully understood and the expectations are managed correctly. So it's definitely a journey, but 100%. A good journey that we get to go
Absolutely.
together.
It's a journey of consideration as well, because I tell patients a lot, you want your provider to be really good. You want a surgeon that's really meticulous with their hands. They have good eye-hand coordination. They're detail-oriented. But at the end, they need to be considerate and caring. They need to be considering.
And I tell that to patients. I said, that's one good thing that you have here that you may not know. Your surgeon is different than the person that is going to restore your implants because it allows for a double check.
Yes.
If it's the same person and something is not right, how is that person going to know it? But when you have two people, everybody comes from their perspective. Your implant surgeon is going to come from the perspective of how am I going to place my implants in a way that I'm going to have the best stability possible. And your prosto doctor is going to say, how are we going to restore this so that it has the longest and biggest chance of success? So it's a great dynamic, in my opinion.
It has to be. And considering all those things, being considerate of the patient's past, knowing every step of what they've been through. And most of our patients, they've struggled through years of difficult dental appointments, getting anesthetized, getting numbing medicine. The numbing medicine doesn't work. They're sitting in the chair. They have horror stories of a dentist standing on their chest, pulling teeth out.
We have such bad reputation, huh?
We do, unfortunately. But really considering all of those things as a provider, and that's really what we emphasize. is to be as considerate as possible that these patients are delicate. They have been
Absolutely.
traumatized. And the approach starts from that, considering everything they've been through and approaching them in a way where we know that you've struggled and we are different. The process is going to be simple. We're not going to traumatize you. Knowing what they've been through, we have to be more delicate. It's almost as if we have to pay for the wrongdoings of years
Absolutely,
of
it's true.
trauma.
It's true. Some of them are coming from very negative experiences. They did not choose to end up almost with no teeth or without teeth. It was, in some cases, some things were within their control, but in some cases, they were not. And it's kind of sad to have to witness all the challenges that they have to experience, but at the same time, it's a wonderful opportunity for us to correct some things that are not right.
100%, 100%. You are originally from Colombia.
Yes.
And one thing that I want to highlight is not that we don't have a lot of people with experience being exposed to other countries, but one thing that I know you've seen is you definitely have been exposed to lack of access to proper care, right?
Yes.
And seeing where we are missing with that access to care, how do you feel that right now that is changing in our field?
Well, it's changing and it's moving in the right direction. And you're right. Coming from a third world country, I thought I had seen the worst where I come from, and it's very sad what I have seen here. It's unbelievable to me that in the United States of America, I see some of the cases that I've seen. The good news is that we're moving in the right direction. But we still have a lot to do. And it's only going to happen if people understand that there's a vast amount of need. There's so many patients that are in need. There's so many issues that need to be taken care of. And there's only so much money. So you have to balance that part, educate patients so that they can too take care of themselves, raise their children in a way that they can be responsible and able to look after themselves. But in that process, we also go together or kind of work together towards a solution that it's a little bit more fair.
Yes.
Because
yes.
right now, as sad as this is, and like you said, I could get some fire for this, but I don't mind. Depending on your zip code, where you're born, I know where your chances are going to go. And that's kind of sad.
It's very sad and it's unfortunate, but it is a true topic, and we see it every day. It's related to your finances, unfortunately, and a big portion of the population that has that need is unfortunately not getting access to the care, and we see that regularly. It's almost as if full mouth dental implants is made for the ritzy rich. And that is the path that unfortunately I'm after breaking. That's
I'm
been
with
my
you.
focus.
I've been doing it, and I put my finger where I felt was needed for the last 12 years because I was working on that area. So that's
Fighting
why it
for the
was a
underdog.
no-brainer for me. This was the right thing for me.
No, absolutely. And I know that story that you shared with me from your past and what you fought for, and for as many patients as you did.
And I went to Sacramento several times, and I went to Washington, D.C., because unless policy changes, we are not going to make the progress that we need to be making.
Very true. And when it comes time to talk about the political picture and why this problem exists, and a lot of people imagining that this is an issue of the third world countries, but we realize that it is here.
It's here.
Access that's missing here that's affecting millions of people's lives. Changing the policy is one thing, is on one level. Changing dentists' mindset to shift to a more efficient workflow to be able to offer this treatment at an affordable price to their patients. Educating dentists on the protocols, the surgical techniques to allow them to do this more efficiently, quicker surgeries under general anesthesia or IV sedation, and then raising awareness of patients to know that there are options out there and they don't need to struggle, The access to care problem is huge. We are not going to solve it overnight.
No, we're not.
But we need to raise awareness. And I think one of the things that I've seen when providing this treatment, I feel that it's a little bit difficult to completely encompass all the information that this treatment involves and package that in such a simple little package for our patients to understand and really trust. And it's difficult because we need to do that as a result of so many procedures that we're squeezing into one. It's information overload. And how we do the presentation at the time of the consult and at the pre-surgery visit, it really limits the amount of time available for our patients to know the ins and outs of the treatment. So there are some misconceptions as patients start treatment. What are your thoughts about those?
Well, when I get to see patients, we have had a chance to talk to them at the different appointments. Every team member brings a little bit of the information, and when we get to the final consent time, I go to them and I basically tell them that I'm the advocate because I want to make sure that they are comfortable with what they're doing, they understand. Most of the time they'll tell me at the initial consult that they thought this was so not affordable that that's why they didn't even try. Sometimes they tell me that they think this is gonna hurt so much that they're petrified, they think they're not good candidates, they think so many things, and then once we start through the process, there's still misconceptions. Am I gonna get the teeth right away? We have to talk to them, you're gonna get some temporaries, prototypes, and we're gonna have you for 3 months. So it's kind of like repetition, but you have to have skill to understand in a few questions how much that patient is understanding, how much time and how much extra care that person needs, and that's what the whole team does.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's
together.
the assistant, sometimes it's the front, sometimes it's the patient ambassador. So that's how we make sure our patients understand the process, and that's how we manage that level of
100%.
communication.
One of the other things, too, that I notice with misconceptions is really the idea that patients believe this is a standard for everyone, that
Yes.
they don't take into consideration that it's a custom treatment. Every individual heals differently. Every individual has a complex chewing pattern that needs to be considered, and the timing may differ. Some patients come in because they've seen a marketed ad that you get your final teeth in 24 hours. They expect to get their teeth in 24 hours and for everything to be perfect. And even though that option is offered by some competitors outside, at New Life, we don't believe in that philosophy. And the reason is because we do want to verify that the teeth have already tested speech and functional parameters before we deliver the final set.
And that's what I love, and that's the reason that I joined New Life, because it's a family-owned business. I see that you all really care. You care as much as I do, so that's what's important to me. Why? Because throughout the whole process, we're going to be constantly communicating to the patient so that we can understand what they're feeling, what they're needing. Sometimes, like you said, they come with the misconception that everything's gonna be done in 24 hours. And we have to guide them and explain to them that we're kind of architects, we're like artists, we are scientists, we're like everything in one, because it's not just to give you teeth. I have to give you teeth that look good. I have to treat you with lots of care. I have to give you high quality. I have to understand all these different type of things that I explain to patients. That's why the process, it seems simple. It's because we're making it simple for you, but we are working everything in our power so that we can give you the type of quality that you
Absolutely.
deserve.
Thank you. I mean, to be honest, I do view all of our colleagues, all the doctors that we work with, I do see them as my family, even though I do have my brothers and cousins.
And you
and
have a new
everyone,
sister, I guess.
And I have a new sister working together. We really have a lot of family members in the practice. And the reason is because when you're involved with people that you're so close to, that you trust, you know that those departments are completely cared for. But I genuinely do see all of our doctors as colleagues, and you know this, that one of the highlights about New Life is that collaborative model for you and I to talk at least once a week.
Yep.
And I can say that since you've been with us, we have talked about 1 or 2 cases a week. And doctors communicate via our own separate platform.
Correct.
Where we talk about cases. You are very active, and I love that about you, because you ask questions about everything. You collaborate about every single case that is even remotely challenging, because you know that it takes that special collaborative model to be able to provide care.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I told you when I joined, I could have gone on my own and do the same thing on my own, but I feel like the impact's gonna be so much bigger when I am part of something much bigger, because that's really what I want to do. Sometimes it's a person's journey, and you kind of know about mine. So I feel like what I want to do with my time, I want it to be meaningful. I want to make a difference. I want to give something that is long-lasting, that it's predictable. So that's what we have the opportunity to do here. And I feel just for that, our patients get so much more, because we really all are aiming for that far.
I see that as well, and I'm grateful that you see it that way. What are your thoughts about a lot of the companies out there that are expanding and that are out there that are doing this treatment? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to tell you exactly like I say to my patients when they come. I don't like talking bad about anyone. Everybody can do their own thing. All I can say is, here we care so much because I want to put some implants in your mouth, and I want to restore them, and I want them to last forever, for as long as possible. So I am going to tell you everything that I know is going to help me predict long-lasting results. I am going to be on your case, is what I tell them. I'm going to be reminding you how important home care is, how important annual visits are, because we're going to take care of everything else that matters, that it's within our control, so that you can achieve those results. What others do or don't, I honestly don't have an opinion. I let people experience it for themselves. What I can say is we care. We don't want to give our patients something and have them return in a year or 3 years and having to pay that amount again. So we are taking our time to make sure that what we give our patients is the right solution for them, and that they are so happy that they're going to refer all their friends and other family members because they trust what we did for them.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, and I do see that 100%. This is why I am really happy that you were the one chosen for this, because I knew you're going to bring it as straightforward as possible. So thank you. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us talk about these topics. If you're interested, please definitely follow us, subscribe. Thank you so much, Dr. Bacerra, for being with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Of course.